The Hamas-Israeli conflict kicked off this weekend. And of course, while I don't want war and you don't want it either, it's inevitable. Now I'm hoping for 4 possible outcomes. Number 1, Israel is able to dismantle Hamas leadership quickly. 2, Israeli leadership feels like they got justice, no prolonged war. Number 3, there's minimum civilian casualties. And 4, long-term solution for Palestinians are brokered. We know that there's so much more complications coming up on the breakdown of the weekend's Israeli-Palestinian conflict on the Gateway Pundits Weekend Review. My name is Elijah Schaefer, and this is complicated because both sides call each other terrorists. Many of you already have preconceived notions. I want to hear them in the comments. Some of you are pro-Palestinian, some are pro-Israel. I am pro-peace. But of course, we know that Israel must respond to this unprecedented attack on their southern border. Now, how did it happen? Let's look at this video. It's very important to look at this. First of all, Hamas was able to apparently drop bombs or grenades on the watchtowers in Israel. Now, I'm trying to confirm this is true. I wasn't seeing enough reports on our website, but what happened was they apparently used the same drone technology. Now, where did they get the drones? They could have gotten the drones from Iran. Likely, they might have gotten the drones from Afghanistan, but the most precedenting issue is that it seems they got these from Ukrainian war packages from the United States. Now, we will confirm that later on in the week, but it seems like money and weapons that went to Ukraine were going towards providing weapon packages towards Hamas. There's a lot more to go to this story, and you'll see the hang glider moving into the border as the rockets were launched. Now, more importantly in this story that is absolutely crazy, you can see this right here, this hang glider that is going over the border. They used very basic technology to invade southern Israel. Now, they killed over 1,100 people as reported as the day of this report, but there could be more as we speak. But there was some sophistication. Now, the Wall Street Journal reported directly that Hezbollah from Lebanon, which is funded by Iran, the state of Iran directly, and the Palestinian terrorism force, Hamas, worked in coordination. I don't know how Mossad and the CIA, the greatest military strengths and intelligence agencies in the world, could have missed this. Could this be a 9/11 type-esque attack where it's real? A foreign nation waged it, but it was used to wage a greater war? We'll have to see. Well, Jim Ferguson from the UK reported that Israel was reporting that U.S. weapons left behind in Afghanistan were used to attack Israel. You can see some of the more carnage here. These are the Hamas terrorists that are using AR-15s or AR-15 style combat rifles used very similarly in the U.S. So it's crazy. We've become accustomed to seeing the terrorists use AK-47s, but now we're seeing them use AR-15s. Now, the Biden administration estimated left behind $80 billion in Afghanistan, which is wild, considering the fact that that's a lot more money than we're even able to use to combat our own issues at home, like our southern border wall issue, which was going to cost $3 billion, our fentanyl issue, which could cost $67 billion. We are in a very intimate crisis, and this is a very intricate issue. Now, Nikki Haley are very much advocate neocon for constant war. You may be a neocon. You may want war. I'm opposed to it. I'm not a pacifist. I just don't like when war is waged unnecessarily. Said that the attack on Israel was actually an attack on the U.S. Let's hear what she had to say.
That here the Israelis woke up and communities were bombarded. Families were murdered. Women and children were taken hostage, dragged through the streets. The elderly were taken. All of this has happened in front of everyone, on top of thousands of rockets that hit Israel. This should be personal for every woman and man in America. Why? Because when they did this surprise attack, when they took these hostages, when they murdered these families, they were celebrating. And what were they celebrating? They were saying death to Israel, death to America. This is not just an attack on Israel. This is an attack on America because they hate us just as much. And what we have to understand is this is the reason that we have to unite around making sure our enemies do not hurt our friends.
Okay, well, this is an escalation of conflict. She's already calling for another war. Look, I'm all about Israel protecting their borders. Don't get me wrong. Israel has the full indemnity and the right as a nation state to protect their sovereignty and to avenge the right of their own citizens. Do I think that Israel has treated the Palestinians correctly according to international human rights standards? No. You might disagree with me. But I also hate Islamic extremism. I think Hamas is a terrorist group. I don't think all Palestinians, I think many are Christian, are not in line with the Hamas extremism group. Over 80% are, but I do mourn the loss of many Palestinians who don't support this. I am a human rights activist and I support people looking for peace. But Nikki Haley wanting war, that's just absolutely insane. And it brings up the question, as Lindsey Graham said, now it just came up from the Wall Street Journal that Iran was coordinating this attack. It's convenient because the Wall Street Journal is obviously CIA influenced, and Senator Lindsey Graham, who's a very straight person, obviously said, "Well, if Iran's involved and we find Hezbollah's involved, then we need to escalate the conflict. The U.S. needs to get involved with troops, with weapons, etc." Well, it turns out like a day later, the Wall Street Journal reports that Hezbollah was involved in Iran. I don't know if it's true. I'm just saying it's convenient. Back home in the US, multiculturalism is taking its play as we see after 20 years of fighting the war on terror. This is what the streets of New York look like. We have this side of the Palestinian supporters, calling death to America, death to Jews. I don't want any Jews to die. I don't want any Americans to die. But similarly, the most ridiculous people, I'm not even going to go to that one yet, would be the Jewish side, which was saying Jews for Palestine, queers for Palestine. They'd kill you in a second with your stupid pronouns. Whether you support Israel or Palestinians is not really up to me, but Islamic extremists would kill you in a second if you are queer for Palestine. You should just realize that, right? Anti-Zionism, for Palestine, they don't like you. They don't like queers very much. But of course, this is getting quite weird because a lot of people on the right wing have taken advantage of the moment to take it for their own personal advantage. While we support the Daily Wire here at thegatewaypundit.com, it is interesting that the CEO of Daily Wire, Jeremy Boring, brought up that Palestinians are used as cannon fodder to advance the esoteric political interests of Putin and Iran. Many of these right wingers who largely support Ukraine and the war that's going on in Russia, which I don't personally, but many do, try to link Putin to all of this. I don't know how they did that. I think that's remarkable. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that he would try to do that. I respect him. He's built a great thing at Daily Wire, but what the hell is he talking about linking this attack to Putin? It's crazy. These people are crazy. Now, the last supporter of human rights that you would expect to find peace in all of this would be the United Nations. Of course, you can read many more stories about this at the gatewaypundit.com, but one of the most important things is the UN, during the height of the attacks, released a very important statement on human rights. It's that trans lesbians are lesbians. Fantastic. While we're talking about the death of real women and children at the hands of Palestinian terrorists, we're talking about the Palestinians being co-opted by Hamas terrorists, while there being a mistreatment on both sides, we're talking about trans people. Again, thank you to the UN for answering the call for irrelevant information. My name is Elijah Schaefer. This has been another Gateway Pundit Week in Review. I hope you have a great rest of the week. Let me know your comments below who you think is right and correct. If you think I'm being too neutral, I appreciate it. But I feel like there's some camaraderie and respect in being neutral in these last days. Have a great rest of the week, and may God bless the United States of America. I'm signing out.